Good morning, everyone. What an incredible service so far. Been loving the Christmas worship, and thank you, Lim family, for that amazing communion and leading our hearts there towards Jesus. My name is Jacob Ardron. I, alongside my wife Tiffany, help lead the college ministry here on Lifeway, and I'm very excited to preach this morning and give the lesson this Sunday and direct our hearts to Jesus as we head into the week of Christmas. You know, we can always benefit from having more of Jesus on our minds, especially nowadays. He is the reason for the season. And we know that, right? And most of us have probably already heard that saying many times before, but it's still so easy to forget and to make our holidays about our plans and forget the Christ in Christmas. You know, it's easy for us to do that on most years. I think it's especially easy for us to do this year in 2020. Because what is Christmas in 2020? Like, what are the plans? I'm sure for most of us, they've changed. They're a little different. And I know we always do great with last minute changes for the holidays, right? Probably not. You know, for my wife and I, normally we go to New York every year for Christmas. Her family's from there. We have many friends. This year, that's not happening. Not only is that discouraging for numerous reasons, it also leaves us with the problem. Well, what now? What are we going to do now? Now that our normal routine for Christmas is gone and there's other limitations, how do we still make Christmas fun and encouraging? And I'm sure Tiff and I are not the only ones scratching our heads with that problem. And not only how do we make it fun, but what are we doing for presents? Like for the Christmas gifts. You know, once again, most of us probably have a routine of how we get our gifts, who we're getting them for, and how we're going to wrap them, and who we're going to see for Christmas, and when we're going to unwrap all of our Christmas gifts. But now it's like, well, do I still get gifts to those who I'm not going to even see for Christmas? And if I still wanted to, well, how am I going to get those gifts to them? Do I ship it already wrapped? Well, that's extra money. Do I just Amazon Prime it all the way? But then that's kind of anticlimactic for someone to open up an Amazon Prime box for Christmas. So do I, text someone in the family to wrap the gifts for me? And what if it gets stolen and there's a lot to consider with Christmas gifts. And finding that just right, perfect gift for your loved one has always been a stressful thing, right? And now you add this pandemic, it becomes that much more stressful. And it adds a whole new wrinkle to it. The college ministry just had their end of the year Christmas party this past Friday night, and we chose to do Secret Santa. And it kind of became a covert operation. Because with Secret Santa, you're supposed to not know who got you the gifts and vice versa. So we had students going full on SWAT mode, sneaking up to each other's house and slyly putting the gift on the front porch and running away, and then calling my wife. My wife was everyone's Santa's helper. So she would call them and say, hey, there's a package on your door. And that's how we did it. And it worked out. It was good, but it was funny. And it was a lot more work than we normally would do for a typical holiday Christmas party. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. We're putting in a lot more efforts into our holiday planning than we're used to. And we're trying to make extra efforts to make everyone feel special during this year. And I think that's great. We all need it. The holidays can be a lonely time for many of us on a normal year, now much more so. So it's important to figure out new and creative ways to encourage one another and give gifts, because giving gifts during Christmas is kind of a part of the theme of this holiday. So that's all good. But it's also important for us to take the time to consider how we can give to the one above all, the one who matters above everyone else, and what gifts we can bring before him this holiday season. And that will be the focus this morning. The title of my lesson is Gifts Fit for a King. Gifts fit for a king. So let's head on over to Matthew chapter 2. And this we acquaint ourselves with the story of the birth of Jesus Christ and the gifts he received as an infant. So Matthew 2, verse 1 through 2, it reads, After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. Okay, so quick pause in this story. Let's all get on the same page here. Who are these Magi? Because there have been many traditions and even songs written about these men. So who are they? Well, a lot of us know them by different names, like the three wise men or the three kings. So let's start right there. We don't actually know if it's three men or not. The Bible doesn't say. We have that tradition because they gave us three gifts, but there probably could have been more of them because it was a long, long trip. Their origins is possibly Persia or Arabia. And so they traveled from Persia all the way to Jerusalem and then to Bethlehem and then back home. That would have been an over 1,000 mile journey. So that's like going from Los Angeles to the middle of Texas during a time where there's no planes, no cars. That's a lot of travel. Would have been a long trip that took many months. And so they probably took more than just three men. Maybe there was more, and maybe they had servants as well. So that's about, we don't know about the three, but let's move on. So as far as their profession, they were most likely astrologers, which is why they had such a great interest in the new star that appeared and followed it all the way to Judea. And they're focused on a niche topic like astrology, which is basically the study of space and how it relates to and affects us as humans. As seen in the scripture, they saw a new big star and they thought that means there's a new king and they followed it. So that type of study during a time where the common person wasn't even literate would have made their profession seem like they were dealing with magic, which is why at the time these men were seen as sorcerers or even magicians, hence the phrase magi. And so like other sorcerers, they would have served the royal house, but they weren't necessarily royalty themselves. So they probably weren't kings. So that's the background of these men. They aren't Jews, they're pagans. They have their own religion, but they have traveled over 1,000 miles in a time with no planes, no cars, to worship and give gifts to a newborn king of a nation that they are not a part of. Talk about going the distance to give a gift. And the Magi first went to Jerusalem because that's the capital city of Judea. So they thought that, hey, this will be where the King of the Jews is, right? Well, let's read what happens next. So Matthew 2, starting in verse 3, it reads, When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. When he had called together all the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. In Bethlehem, in Judea, they replied, for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people in Israel. Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I too may go and worship him. So instead of Jesus, the Magi encounter King Herod. And he is disturbed because he hears new king and he feels threatened. And he should be afraid because Herod's not a legitimate king. He is a corrupt, evil man, and God's hand is not upon him. He has not chosen him. Herod is not the true Messiah. And that's actually what the term Messiah means. Messiah means the anointed one. And God has anointed Christ. He has chosen him, not Herod. And Herod knows it's not him. And he knows it's not any one of his kids, which is why he asks, where is the Messiah to be born? And Herod asking that question not only admits that he knows I'm not the guy, it also shows his lack of devotion to the scriptures. He needs other people's help to figure out the Old Testament prophecies. And so the priests and teachers tell him the answer is in Micah. In Micah chapter 5. That's right, Matthew chapter 2, verse 6 is a direct quote from a prophecy made a long time ago by a prophet named Micah. Micah lived during the time around 700 BC, and he made a prophecy that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. And 700 years later, this prophecy came true. How epic is that? Micah is an incredible book to read, and later on in our lesson, we'll go back to him. But let's first get back to our story in Matthew. And let's finish off the nativity story. So Matthew chapter 2, verse 9. After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen when it rose went ahead of them, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to the country by another route. So now the star is leading them directly to the house where Jesus and Mary were at. That's pretty amazing. And yes, I said house, not manger. It's been a few months. The story of people appearing in the manger to worship Jesus is in the book of Luke. Those are shepherds. So Jesus gets the gifts by the three, or the Magi, later on, many months later, because again, it's a long journey. And so now Jesus is in a house. So he's moved up, he's in a house with his mother Mary, and that's the scene that we enter, that these men come. They knock on the door, and before we get to those gifts, I just want to again highlight their mood and their joy when they see this newborn king. You know, they were overjoyed. They went inside and bowed down and worshiped baby Jesus. You know, what an incredible gesture from a group of wealthy, accomplished men who have no stake in the game. They're not Jews, they're not family, they're not old friends of Joseph and Mary, but they believe that this baby is meant to be a great king, and they worshiped him and gave him elaborate gifts. The first being gold, the greatest symbol of kingship at that time. Then frankincense, a high quality essence, also meant for the noble or even to express deities. And myrrh, another fragrance spice, which perhaps had a dual meaning of both kingship and the cross, because myrrh was also commonly used as an embalming oil. But regardless of whether or not there were any spiritual underlying meanings behind these three gifts, the fact is they were valuable resources at the time, and they were seen as gifts fit for a king. And that's the main reason why the Magi presented them to Jesus. And it's got to make you wonder, what did Mary think? You know, Jesus was trained to be a carpenter later on in life like his father. They probably did fine, but they weren't by no means wealthy. So these gifts from these strange men might have been a little unsettling. But then again, maybe at this point, maybe Mary's kind of used to this. Both Mary and Joseph knew that Jesus was not an ordinary child. They had already received a lot of praise and a lot of special blessings. These might have been the most elaborate gifts they received, but probably not the only ones. And that is kind of what people do when they have kids. They get a lot of gifts, and they also buy a lot of gifts for their future newborns. You know, my wife is pregnant right now, and we're super excited about that. So I'm currently experiencing a flow of new baby stuff all the time. Every day I'm learning a new word and a new baby item, and it can be a lot. But I'm grateful to have a very resourceful wife and to be a part of this amazing, very generous fellowship. I'm so grateful. But I'm also seeing that this situation is not unique to Tiff and I. It is very typical for most parents to go all out for the newborn child. We did not invent the phrase baby shower. This has been going on for a long time. It's pretty natural to invest a lot. But I imagine it gets harder for most parents to continue to have that amount of investments as their child ages. And I think that's not just a parenting thing. That's probably a life thing. It's easy to invest in new. Whether that's new friends, new neighbors, new job, new hobbies. It's easy to go all out and give at first. is harder to sustain and continue to give at anything as time goes along. And that same applies to our relationship with God. How many Christmas services have you heard by now? For some of us, it's been every year for decades. Are we still putting in the extra effort to show love to our King in Christ Jesus? Are we still willing to go the distance like the Magi to give him gifts that he still deserves? It's easy for us to get lazy in how we give when it comes to our faith. But let me tell you, no one likes to feel forgotten. And on the opposite end, it means so much to anyone when you're no longer the new kid on the block, but people still give to you. It actually means a lot more. I can tell from experience that my wife and I are no longer the new ministers here in Lifeway. We've been here for actually almost 4 years. It's crazy. And we got a lot of love when we first came here, a lot of encouragements. To this day, we are still feeling loved and taken care of by this fellowship. And it means more to us now than it did back then. You guys make us feel like we're still appreciated. We're doing an okay job. It means the world to us. I already shared recently about how when I had my knee surgery, so many people dropped off gifts and dropped off food. Even more recently than that, I was COVID positive and had to be quarantined for my wife for a little bit. And still, same thing. A lot of love from the church, a lot of great food. And it makes my wife and I feel so appreciated. And there are very few feelings greater than feeling appreciated. And that feeling only grows stronger the longer that someone continues to show it to you. So thank you so much, family. It means the world to both my wife and I. But in the same vein, I want to direct all of us and our love to someone far, far greater. Because if anyone deserves to feel appreciated, it should be Jesus, our King, who came down to our world to live among us and suffer for us on the cross for our sins. And to this day is still up there, hearing our prayers, rooting for us, and hoping that we finish our walk on this earth strong in his honor. If anyone deserves gifts on this holiday, it's the man whose mere existence is the reason we have said holiday. Jesus is the man we must not forget on our Christmas shopping lists. But now that begs the question, what can we possibly give to Jesus now? What does he want from us? It's probably not gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But hey, if you want to give your contribution in gold, so be it. I'm sure you can mail it in the P.O. box and our regional finance team will figure it out. But aside from that, what are the gifts now that are fit for the King of Kings? Well, Jesus wants the same from us as God's always wanted. And it hasn't changed. It's always been the same 3 gifts. And Micah sums it up beautifully. So in Micah 5, going back to Micah, he talks about the prophecy of Jesus being born in Bethlehem. Let's go to Micah chapter 6, the very next chapter, where he famously writes what God has always desired for us. So Micah chapter 6, starting in verse 6, it reads, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of olive oil? Shall I offer my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." This same question, what can I present before God? What can I give God, the God that has it all? Is the same question Micah pondered thousands of years ago. What can I possibly give to the King? And the answer is the same then as it is now. The gift that Jesus seeks is not from outer, it's from within. It's our character and devotion to him, summed up in 3 qualities: to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with him. Those are the three gifts fit for a king, for our king: justice, mercy, humility. And he doesn't desire those gifts just around the holidays. He requires them from us at all times, because that's who he is. Jesus lived a life above reproach, spent time and forgave sinners, and remained humble and walked closely to his Father all of his days on this earth. And we are tasked with the call to imitate him in those three qualities. How's it going for us with giving him those three gifts? To act justly means to do what is right before God and before man. How has your character been lately? Have you been living above reproach, following the many commands in his word? Love mercy. How's your love for mercy been lately? Do you love giving it out and being quick to forgive others who wrong you? And have you spent time feeling grateful for how much mercy God's already given you? And walking humbly with God, have you been consistent in your times with him, in prayer, in the Bible, and giving him credit when you receive blessings in this life? Or has your walk lately been more of a solo act? As I go down that list, I think it can be easy for all of us to recognize that we have fallen short at times at consistently giving Jesus the three gifts he desires most from us. And I'm right there with you. I think back to moments, even recently, where I haven't acted justly, and I told a little white lie here or there and seared my conscience. Times where I haven't been quick to forgive my wife during this very long quarantine. Days where I haven't been humble communication with my Father, and consistent communication with my God. This Christmas, I want to give Jesus the gifts that matter the most to him, and that he's been wanting for me to give every single day. And maybe you're thinking, Jake, that sounds nice, but that's a lot. Those are three really big topics. Or, hey, again, I'm right there with you. Choose one. That's okay to choose one. The Magi, one guy probably didn't bring all those gifts. They probably all chipped in. I'll take the gold. I'll take the myrrh. Lifeway, what is the one quality of those three gifts that Jesus most desperately wants to receive from you? Is it being more merciful? Is it acting more justly? Is it walking closer and more humbly with him every single day? I encourage all of us to consider this week, today, what gift does Christ most want to receive from you this holiday season, and build from there, because these are the gifts that are fit for our King. I love you all. I want to wish every single one of you a Merry Christmas. I'm going to close out with a prayer. And if you're tuning in on Zoom, stick around. We'll spotlight every one of us for a time of fellowship, and you'll be dismissed. Dear God, thank you so much for allowing us to have the moment right before the holidays to take a pause and remember what this is all about. Lord, it's about you. It's about the birth of your Son. And God, help us to be inspired by Micah 6 to consider what gift you most desperately want from all of us individually and collectively this holiday season. I pray that we could be a fellowship that walks more closely with you, that acts more justly, and loves both receiving and handing out mercy day after day. Love you so much. Thank you for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.